On November 18, 1978, more than 900 people died in a remote jungle clearing in South America. It remains the single largest loss of American civilian life in a deliberate act until September 11, 2001. But the question that still haunts historians isn't just how it happened, it's how so many people, many of them intelligent, idealistic, and devoted to a better world, ended up there in the first place. This is the story of Jonestown. Jonestown was not born in the jungle. It began in the heart of the United States, in the ambitions of one man, Jim Jones. Founder of the People's Temple, Jones built a movement that, at its peak, drew thousands of followers with promises of racial equality, social justice, and salvation. For many, it felt like hope. For some, it became a trap they could not escape. Over the next 15 minutes, we'll trace the rise of Jones and his church, the warning signs that went unheeded, and the final devastating hours that ended in mass death. The 1950s and 60s were decades of upheaval in America. The civil rights movement was reshaping the country, and many Americans were searching for community, purpose, and social change. Into this climate stepped James Warren Jones, a young preacher from Indiana, who founded the People's Temple in 1955. Unlike many churches of the era, Jones preached integration at a time when segregation was still widespread. Black and white congregants worshiped side by side. For many who joined, it felt revolutionary. By the 1970s, the People's Temple had relocated to California, first to Redwood Valley, then to San Francisco, where Jones cultivated relationships with local politicians and civic leaders. His congregation numbered in the thousands. Teachers, nurses, young idealists, elderly retirees, and entire families drawn by his message of equality and communal living. Among them were people like Congressman Leo Ryan, who would later play a pivotal role in the story, and hundreds of children born or raised within the temple's walls. To outsiders, Jones appeared a charismatic humanitarian. To his inner circle, a very different picture was forming. Inside the temple, Jones demanded absolute loyalty. Members surrendered their paychecks, their property, and increasingly, their independence. He staged fake healings to project divine power. He required confessions of personal secrets, which he later used as leverage. As his paranoia deepened, Jones spoke more frequently of conspiracies against him and rehearsed his followers in loyalty tests. In 1974, the temple leased land in Guyana, a small nation on the northern coast of South America, and began building a settlement they called the People's Temple Agricultural Project. Jones told his followers it would be a socialist utopia, free from the racism and corruption he claimed defined America. In 1977, an expose in New West magazine was set to reveal allegations of abuse, financial exploitation, and coercion within the temple. Rather than face the scrutiny, Jones made a decision that would seal the fate of his followers. He relocated en masse to Guyana. Hundreds of members, including children who had no say in the matter, left the United States for a settlement carved out of dense jungle, nearly 150 miles from the nearest city. Former members and relatives left behind began speaking out, forming a group called the Concerned Relatives, warning that something was deeply wrong. Life in Jonestown was far from the utopia promised. Members worked long hours in intense heat, survived on meager rations, and lived under constant surveillance. Armed guards patrolled the perimeter. Jones, increasingly dependent on drugs and consumed by paranoia, held nightly loudspeaker broadcasts warning of imminent attack from outside forces. He introduced the community to something he called White Nights, late-night drills where members rehearsed mass suicide, testing their loyalty and obedience. Some believed it was only a drill. Others were beginning to suspect it was rehearsal for something real. In November 1978, Congressman Leo Ryan of California traveled to Guyana, accompanied by journalists, relatives of temple members, and aides to investigate the growing allegations firsthand. On November 17, Ryan's delegation arrived in Jonestown. Publicly, the visit appeared calm. Jones hosted a dinner, and members performed music for their guests. But privately, some residents slipped notes to Ryan's group, pleading to leave with them. It was the first crack in the carefully maintained illusion, and Jones knew it. On November 18th, as Ryan's delegation prepared to leave, roughly a dozen temple members asked to leave with them. Jones allowed it, but his composure was breaking. As the group reached the nearby Port Kaituma airstrip and began boarding two aircraft, gunmen sent by Jones opened fire. Congressman Leo Ryan was killed, along with 3 journalists and 1 defector. Several others were wounded as the attackers fired on the fleeing group before retreating back toward the settlement. Within hours of the airstrip attack, Jones gathered the community at the Central Pavilion. A recording made that day, now known as the death tape, captured his final address, in which he told his followers that soldiers were coming and that death was the only way to protect their dignity. A vat of grape-flavored drink mixed with cyanide and sedatives was prepared. Parents were instructed to give it to their children first. Armed guards stood at the perimeter. In the hours that followed, more than 900 men, women, and children died. Some drank willingly, having been prepared through months of loyalty drills. Others were coerced, injected, or had no way to escape. Jim Jones himself died from a gunshot wound, believed to be self-inflicted. Guyanese police and military forces reached Jonestown the following day, November 19th. What they found was a scene of unimaginable scale, a community that had, hours earlier, been full of life. American officials, including personnel from the U.S. Embassy, coordinated with Guyanese authorities to secure the site, identify victims, and begin the long process of returning remains to the United States. Because of the settlement's remote location, deep in dense jungle terrain, the logistics of the recovery operation were immense, requiring military transport aircraft and international cooperation. In the weeks that followed, the United States Congress launched investigations into the events surrounding Congressman Ryan's assassination and the mass deaths in Jonestown. The FBI examined the recovered death tape and hundreds of documents left behind at the settlement. Investigators worked to piece together a timeline, examining how Jones had gradually isolated his followers, cut off outside communication, and built a system where dissent was nearly impossible. Survivors, those who had fled into the jungle before the final hours, or who had left with Ryan's delegation, became crucial witnesses. Investigators found that Jones had used a calculated blend of isolation, fear, and gradual escalation to control his followers. The remote jungle location eliminated outside influence. The rehearsed White Night drills had normalized the idea of mass death long before it happened. Financial records showed followers had signed over property, savings, and even social security checks to the temple. Perhaps most chilling, the death tape revealed that some members voiced hesitation or dissent in the final hours, but were overruled by the surrounding pressure of the group and armed guards. Researchers later cited Jonestown as one of the most extensively documented case studies of coercive control and group psychology in modern history. The phrase "drinking the Kool-Aid," though factually inaccurate, the drink used was a different powdered beverage, entered the American lexicon as shorthand for blind conformity, a phrase many descendants of victims consider painful and reductive. Jonestown prompted new academic focus on cult psychology, influencing how sociologists and mental health professionals studied coercive control. It also led to increased congressional caution regarding oversight of American citizens living abroad in insular communities. For survivors and family members, the tragedy left decades of grief, stigma, and a determination to ensure the victims were remembered as individuals. Not as a punchline, Jonestown teaches us that manipulation rarely announces itself. It builds slowly through community, purpose, and trust before tightening into control. Experts point to the warning signs present throughout the temple's history: isolation from outside relationships, demands for total loyalty, and the punishment of dissent, as patterns that can appear in other high-control groups even today. Understanding these mechanisms doesn't diminish the humanity of those who joined. Many were searching for belonging, justice, or hope. Recognizing how that hope was exploited is part of honoring their memory. More than 900 people died in Jonestown on November 18, 1978. Among them, over 300 children who had no voice in the choices that led them there. Their deaths were not simply the result of one man's madness, but the culmination of years of quiet, calculated control that went largely unchecked until it was too late. Jonestown remains a sobering reminder that the road to tragedy is often paved not with obvious danger, but with promises of belonging. If this story moved you, consider subscribing for more carefully researched, respectfully told documentary histories, and share this video with someone who values understanding the past. Leave a comment below. What do you think we, as a society, can learn from Jonestown today?